ratio analysis, chapter 3, sorry. So for the ratio analysis, it is a process of selecting, evaluating, and interpret the past financial data of the firm. It serves as a basis for making financial decisions to assess the strength and weakness of the firm management, economic performance, and potential investment. So, financial ratio in chapter 2, chapter 2 you had learned on the financial statement. Okay, financial statement kita ada balance sheet and income statement. So from that balance sheet and income statement, kita akan calculate. Okay, we will derive financial ratio. So what are the important of doing financial ratio? So financial ratio ni, okay, there are several orang kata apa? Several groups or person that very concerned on the financial ratio, okay, including supplier, creditor, and investor. Okay, so financial ratio dia ada liquidity ratio, activity, debt ratio, profitability ratio. Okay, another one is marketability ratio. Okay, but for the marketability ratio, you punya tak ada. Tapi I akan cerita sikit je lah pasal tu apa. Okay, so kita go to the types of ratio dulu, jenis ratio ni apa, lepas tu baru I akan bagi tahu dekat you who are the parties that very interest to look at the company ratio. Okay, the important of financial ratio ni untuk apa, sekejap lagi kita akan tengok. So before that, kita discuss dulu the types of ratio. So the types of ratio, there are 4 types of ratio which are liquidity ratio. So liquidity ratio, before this I did inform to you what you mean by liquidity, right? So when we talk about liquidity ni kita nak tengok on how fast, okay, that certain asset can be converted into cash. So as per example given, I bagi you example hari tu, macam mana kalau comparison between land and jewellery, okay, antara barang kemas dan juga tanah, okay. The liquid item as compared with these two, land and jewellery, yang paling cepat untuk kita convert ataupun dapatkan cash adalah emas. Okay, so when we talk about liquidity, it measure the firm capability to pay off its short-term liability and expenses. Measure the firm ability to meet its short-term obligation. So for the liquidity, kita nak tengok company ni liquidate ke tak. Okay, sebab kita nak tengok company ni dia boleh bayar hutang jangka pendek dia ataupun tidak. Okay, so normally when the firm buy goods on credit, okay, dia beli barang secara kredit. If you still remember on the balance sheet at the short-term liability, there is an item for account payable. Okay, so account payable dekat balance sheet ada account payable. So account payable adalah company beli barang secara berhutang. Okay, so as a supplier, kalau company any corporation bila dia beli barang secara hutang, katalah you adalah company kan, so I ni adalah supplier nak jual barang, so I akan evaluate you punya liquidity, your company liquidity. So why it is important to evaluate your liquidity? Because from that I akan buat decision sama ada nak bagi you ni berhutang lama mana, 20 hari ke, 30 hari ke. Okay, so kalau you beli barang dekat I kata, oh dia ni liquidity dia ni is not good ni, less liquidate. Okay, liquidity dia ni apa tu orang kata, not high, macam normal liquidity is 1.82, tapi liquidity ratio you adalah below 1. Liquidity in form of cost, apa tu, kena 1 lah, 1 ke atas baru cantik lah. Okay, so kita punya rule of thumb dia, the higher is the better. Kalau liquidity you below 1, maksudnya kita kira-kira liquidity you dapat, your company only have the liquidity 0.7. So from that, so me as a supplier, I akan kata, oh dia ni tak boleh nak bayar. Kalau beli barang secara berhutang, maksudnya ada masalah nanti bila dia nak bayar, macam tu. But kalau your company have a very good liquidity ratio, such as your current ratio is 2.1, so 2.1 that means kita punya apa tu orang kata cut off point 1 kan. So 2.1 you punya, saya kata oh dia ni liquidity dia ni bagus, maksudnya ada ability to pay its short term obligation. So orang kata apa, I dare to give you you nak beli barang secara berhutang dengan saya berani nak bagi you selama bayar hutang tu selama 60 hari. Lepas tu selama apa orang kata 50 hari, 30 hari, macam tu. Kalau you punya liquidity ratio you tak bagus, okay, so I akan cuba bagi you, okay, you want to buy food on credit with me, okay, tapi I cuma bagi you bayar dalam tempoh 7 hari saja, dalam tempoh 10 hari saja. Okay, itu about liquidity ratio. And the importance of liquidity ratio selalunya bila kita nak beli barang, bila company nak beli barang secara berhutang, to buy food on credit. Alright. Now we go to the activity or efficiency ratio. Okay, so for the activity efficiency ratio, this is how dia kata show how effective the firm is using its asset and inventory, indicate how well the firm convert their receivable. So in the activity ratio, dalam activity ratio ni, example dari inventory turnover, average collection period, fixed asset turnover and total asset turnover. So you tengok sini, in short, for the activity ratio, we want to look at how fast that company can convert certain asset, okay, into sales. Okay, contohnya dalam total asset turnover. Total asset turnover, that means kita nak tengok from the company total asset that include fixed asset and current asset. So from the asset that company have, daripada asset tu berapa banyak yang dia boleh generate asset tu kepada sales ataupun kepada revenue. Okay, so the rule of thumb dia adalah lagi tinggi lagi bagus lah. Okay, lagi tinggi dia punya turnover dia lagi bagus. And then kalau kita tengok dari segi dia punya orang kata dekat sini contohnya lagi, okay, inventory turnover. Okay, so kita nak tengok for the inventory turnover, this is kita nak look at how fast the company can convert its inventories kepada sales. Daripada inventory ataupun dia punya apa orang kata inventory ni stok. Okay, stok yang dia ada, berapa cepat stok tu yang dia boleh producekan kepada sales. Macam tu. So the rule of thumb when we talk about most of the activity or efficiency ratio, kita akan rule of thumb dia adalah lagi tinggi lagi bagus lah. Alright. So for the debt ratio, nama lagi debt hutang. So the debt ratio is show the firm percentage liquid that the firm is using borrowed fund for their operation. So debt ratio you nak tengok company punya, remember I did told you asset, tak boleh contoh tak tahu. Asset and then debt kat sini kan, debt and equity. Okay. So, what company own, dekat sini dia nak tengok berapa banyak yang company yang this is what company own. This is what company own, right? Okay. So, you nak tengok from the company asset ni berapa banyak actually company asset will finance via debt. Berapa banyak. So, when we talking about debt, pasal hutang ni sebenarnya, even though there are several advantage of that, which is kalau company tu ada hutang, akan dapat bayar pengurangan tax. Okay. Tapi lagi tinggi hutang yang company tu ada, lagi tinggi the company exposure toward bankruptcy. Okay, when we talk about hutang, debt, leverage, memang tak dapat lari daripada bankrupt. Okay, so dekat situ dia kata for the debt ratio, it show the firm percentage or degree that the firm is using or borrowed for their operation. Okay, then okay, so for the kalau liquidity ratio ni, mostly siapa yang akan very concerned on the liquidity ratio, siapa yang akan tengok benda ni, ini adalah kita punya supplier kita. Okay, for the activity and debt ratio, siapa yang akan will consider or very concerned on your company activity and debt ratio, ini adalah kita punya macam bank, okay, bankers kan, okay, katalah company ni you nak buat loan. Okay, nak buat loan, nak beli aset baru. To buy a new asset, then you decide nak buat long term loan, okay, ataupun long term debt. So, nak pergi dekat bank and apply for a loan to the bank. So, bank akan evaluate, okay, you punya ni, activity ratio ni. Contohnya macam saya kata tadi tu, total asset turnover. So, total asset turnover dia ni nak buat debt ni. Tapi actually, berapa banyak asset yang dia ada ni boleh convert kepada sales. The current asset actually are very useful for the company to bring it to the, to convert it to the sales. Bagus ke tak bagus? Kalau tak bagus, maknanya you tahulah, bank tu dia akan kata, oh company you ni, you punya turnover ni tak bagus lah. Maksudnya profitability you tu tak berapa cantik, tak berapa bagus. Okay, and then for the debt ratio. The debt ratio sama juga. Kalau ambil contoh macam ni je lah kan. Kalau kita ada company A, company B. Company A ada tinggi hutang. Okay, hutang company A ni, hutang company A is 5 million. Company B punya hutang is 10 million. Okay, so you as a banker, you nak senang bagi loan dekat siapa? Dekat 5 million ni ke ataupun 10 million ni? 5 million lah. Okay, because of what? Dia kata yang 5 million ni adalah orang ni dia debt dia kurang. Macam tu lah. So with this calculation of debt yang kita akan calculate dia ada debt ratio. Macam tu. So for the debt ni kita akan tengok siapa yang akan concern for the debt. Ini adalah kita punya penghutang kita. Okay. So yang ni activity now, the last one is a profitability ratio. Profitability ratio, this is about profit. So profitability ratio at a given level of asset, sales and liquidity. Okay, yang ni profit. For this activity, ini kita nak tengok pada cost of goods and revenue saja. But the profitability, when we talk about profit, profit adalah daripada net income. Okay, kalau you ingat balik yang kita ada buat dekat income statement hari tu, the income statement also known as profit and loss kan, ataupun income and expenses. Kita ambil lah daripada operating profit, daripada revenue ataupun sales, tolak dengan cost of goods sold. So revenue dekat sini, revenue ni, this is actually the profit, but this is not the real profit. For the activity and efficiency ratio, dia ada kena-mena, kita tengok dekat atas ni. Kita akan tengok revenue, kita akan tengok dia punya cost of goods sold, macam tu. Whereas for the profitability ratio, kita akan tengok yang bawah-bawah dia. Di bawah ni apa? Revenue less cost of goods sold, you akan dapat earning before interest tax. Then expenses lagi, interest, you akan dapat earning before tax. This is earning. Earning, ni pun earning kan, maksudnya kita punya profit lah. Ni pun profit juga sebenarnya. Ni pun profit juga. Tapi profit, that is not a real profit. Ada lagi benda kita kena tolak. Then tolak pula dengan tax, kita dapat profit lagi. Earning after tax. Okay, so for the profitability ratio, mostly dia akan consider this one. Okay, so siapa yang orang akan tengok on the profitability ratio ni? Siapa yang akan tengok profitability ratio? You rasa siapa? Kalau yang ni kita kata liquidity ratio ni adalah supplier. Yang ni adalah dia punya penghutang dia. Kalau yang ni siapa yang akan concern profitability ratio? Siapa yang berminat nak tahu company tu punya profitability ratio? Agak-agak you siapa? Yes, investor. Okay, so investor yang akan tengok. So as an investor kita nak tengok company ni boleh maintain ke tak maintain in the market. Company ni boleh tu ke tak boleh. So kita akan tengok dia punya profitability ratio. Another one yang ada lagi satu tu yang kata dia sebenarnya ada 5 tu kan. So lagi satu itu sebenarnya dia adalah kita panggil dia marketability ratio. Okay, so marketability ratio ni, yang ni pasal apa? This is pasal earning per share and dividend per share, price earning ratio. So as an investor, untuk investor, kalau investor yang jenis main saham tu untuk hold lama ke apa, selalunya we will look at this lah. Earning per share, price earning ratio, dividend per share. So this is all about per share. Per share maknanya dia punya per share marketability ratio. But details about this marketability ratio, kalau you belajar advanced corporate finance dan juga belajar subject investment, adalah kita discuss pasal ini. Untuk subject fundamental of finance, kita tak tengok ni sebab yang ni more concentrate on investor. Okay, so you cuma concentrate on liquidity, activity, debt and profitability ratio. Okay, so itu ratio. Now let me go one by one on this ratio. Nombor 1, liquidity ratio. Tadi kita dah discuss kan, we talk about liquidity ratio. You nak tengok pasal apa? Kita nak tengok pasal company ni dia punya ability to pay. Ability to pay, hutang ni ada 2 kan dalam balance sheet. There is a short term liability ataupun short term debt and long term debt. For the liquidity ratio, we are talking about ability to pay on its short-term obligation. Okay, nak tengok dia ni kemampuan company tu bayar hutang jangka pendek, kita akan tengok dekat liquidity ratio. So for the liquidity ratio, we have the current ratio and quick ratio. Quick ratio also known as the asset test ratio. So the current ratio formula dia adalah total current asset over total current liabilities. Current asset, we will get current asset from the balance sheet. Current liabilities, kita akan dapat juga dekat balance sheet. More specifically, current asset, kita ambil dia dekat mana? Dekat bahagian asset. Current liability, kita ambil dia dekat bahagian debt and equity. Okay, remember balance sheet kat sini. Kita ada, ni ada bahagian asset. Asset ada dua. Dia ada current asset ataupun kita panggil current asset, non-current asset. Ataupun nama lain non-current asset adalah fixed asset. For the liability and equity side, kita ada short term liability ataupun short term debt. Okay, and then kita ada long term liability. Okay, another one kita akan ada total equity. Okay, so current ratio, current asset in balance sheet side, this one. Okay, current liability dekat balance sheet ada dekat sini. Okay, for the quick ratio, I kata tadi also known as the asset test ratio. So formula the current asset less inventory, okay, over current liability. So current asset ada dekat mana? Current asset and inventories, dia ada dekat current asset in the asset punya section here. Current liabilities ada dekat sinilah. Okay, current liability section here. So for the current asset less the difference between the quick ratio and current ratio, beza utama dia apa? You tengok sini, less with inventory kan. Inventory ni apa? Stock company tu. Okay, when we talk about inventory, it include raw materials, starting from the raw materials, semi-finished good, finished item, sampailah barang tu ready to be sold. Okay, so the inventory sebab dia start daripada raw material. So in terms when we talk about liquidity ni pasal apa? Liquidity kita nak tengok berapa cepat that asset can be converted into cash. Okay, so antara banyak-banyak current asset dekat sini, current asset ni ada banyak kan, dia ada marketable securities, account receivable, dia ada prepaid expenses and so on. So antara benda yang less liquid, okay, among the current asset adalah inventory. Okay, inventory adalah consider sebagai kurang liquid because of for example for the raw material. Contoh bagi dekat you hari tu macam apa orang kata dan Michelin, okay, buat tayar kan. So Michelin dia ada synthetic rubber, dia ada raw rubber. Lepas tu Michelin nak buat tayar ni daripada tayar tu, daripada memang apa orang kata daripada barang mentah itu sampailah semi finish, lepas tu sampailah benda nak jual. So benda yang barang mentah tu nak proses bawa kepada aset untuk dijual tu, untuk which is cash lah, lambat lagi. Okay. So for the quick ratio or asset test ratio, this one is more accurate. Okay, when we want to evaluate on the company liquidity ratio as compared with the current ratio. Okay, so for example, company X and company Y. Okay, company X and company Y. Okay, dia ada current ratio, quick ratio. Okay, company X punya current ratio is 1.8. Y punya current ratio is 2.0. Quick ratio untuk Y is 1.7. Quick ratio, ni tak logik. Okay, quick ratio for Y is let's say 1.4. Okay, quick ratio for X is 1.5. Okay, so dekat sini we say that these two X and Y, dua-dua ni have a good, orang kata apa, have a good liquidity. Because of what? Dia punya, apa orang kita, cut off point, okay? Cut off point dia adalah 1. So ratio that more than 1 considered as a good ratio. So X and Y, kalau you kata okay, current ratio, X and Y both ada have a good current ratio. But when we want to evaluate only choose one, kita akan kata current ratio Y ni lagi bagus pada X because 2 as compared with 1.8. But when we look at it quick ratio, the quick ratio here, you boleh tengok, you kata, okay, X ni 1.5, which is X is higher than Y punya 1.4 je. Okay, so when we talk about liquidity, okay, kita akan kata company X is much better in terms of their liquidity when compared to liquidity Y. Okay, so far boleh faham? Clear, faham ke? Boleh faham?
Kiranya madam, makin sikit tu makin bagus lah. Macam tadi kan madam cakap yang Y ni bagus kan. Kalau dia
Y
more
ni
than
okay.
1, more than 1 is good ratio kan.
Yeah.
So tapi untuk macam liquidate, macam mana saya nak faham?
Syarul Nizam, would you please turn on your camera?
Oh ya madam, tak
Hmm,
terbuka
tak terbuka.
Ya madam.
So
madam, dia maksudnya macam 1.8 ni tadi madam cakap lagi bagus daripada Y sebab dia sikit
dia macam ni. Okay, dia macam ni. Dia ada dua. Ada liquidity, ada current ratio and quick ratio. Okay, nampak? Quick ratio, current ratio. Dua-dua dia ada. Okay. So kalau kita tengok one by one, kita kata current ratio, dia asalkan benda ni, asalkan dia punya ratio dia exceed 1, is considered as a good lah, good indicator that the company is having a good liquidity. Okay. Asalkan dia ni dapat lebih pada 1, okay. Tapi kita nak kata in terms of the current ratio, now Y is better than X. Betul? Sebab apa? Sebab Y ada 2, X ada 1.8. Dua-dua ni more than 1 kan? Tapi kita nak kata which one is better? Mana yang lagi baik? Kalau current ratio. Rule of thumb dia, the higher is the better. Lagi tinggi, lagi bagus. Okay, the rule of thumb dia dekat sini, lagi tinggi, lagi bagus. So, Y in terms of the current ratio, Y lagi tinggi, lagi bagus, lagi bagus compare dengan X. Okay, itu kita tengok current ratio. But for the quick ratio, Y punya 1.4, X 1.5. So, dua-dua ni, these two company actually have a good liquidity. Dua-dua ni ada good liquidity. Sebab apa good liquidity? Because liquidity dia more than 1. Okay, but we are talking about which one is better. Okay, kita nak mana satu yang lagi bagus, X ataupun Y. Kalau rule of thumb dia, liquidity lagi tinggi, lagi bagus. So kita kata for the quick ratio, X is better than Y. Okay, so ni sekarang ni, you nak kata, okay, kalau current ratio ni Y bagus, tapi quick ratio ni X pula bagus. So sebenarnya yang bagus ni siapa? X ke Y? So kat sini yang bagus ni X ataupun Y, kita akan kata yang bagus adalah ni, X. Sebab apa? Kita consider dia punya quick ratio. Okay, sebab quick ratio, dia tengok the most liquid item. Dia dah tolak inventory ni. Okay. So kalau you nak buat comparison, X, dua-dua ni adalah company bagus lah in terms of the liquidity. Maknanya dua-dua company ni boleh bayar hutang jangka pendek dia. Okay, tapi antara dua ni yang mana lagi satu? Yang mana lagi satu yang lagi bagus? Kita akan kata X lagi bagus. Sebab current ratio dia lagi tinggi compare dengan Y. Macam tu. Okey.
Oh, okey madam, okey madam.
Okey. Ini nanti benda ni penting untuk you buat you punya assignment tau. So assignment you nanti you kena ambil dua company Assignment ni I cakap assignment je lah. So you boleh imagine on your assignment. Okay. So but again the details guideline and outline for your assignment I tak dapat lagi. Nanti once I dapat from the LIC I akan bagi dekat you. But in general assignment you can ambil dua company with the same industry. Okay, same industry contohnya GDEX, tapi GDEX awak dah tak boleh ambil lah sebab tu contoh company saya ambil. So GDEX company yang sama dengan dia siapa? JNT ataupun Pos Laju. Ambil dua saja company. So I kata GDEX nak ambil dengan Pos Laju. So antara dua ni kita kena buat ratio. So I pun kira ratio. Setiap satu kita ada 4 ratio. Liquidity ratio, activity ratio, debt ratio, profitability ratio. So liquidity ratio kena buat 2 ratio. So 2 ratio, quick ratio dan juga current ratio. So I pun buatlah X ni, contohnya X ni adalah GDEX punya. Okay. Yang Y ni adalah Pos Laju punya. So nak buat assignment nanti, mula-mula I kira dulu. Liquidity ratio untuk GDEX, liquidity ratio untuk Pos Laju. Lepas kira, I pun tunjuklah. Okay, lepas tu I pun kena, dekat sini kena buat orang kata apa? Evaluation. I kena interpret on this figure. I kata okay, based on the current ratio, okay, company ni bagus as compare with yang ni. However, whereas the quick ratio yang ni bagus ni. So it shows that both company can meet it short term obligation. Okay, no problem with that, blah 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 apa semua. However, okay, bila kita nak evaluate yang mana satu lagi bagus, I would say that GDEX lagi bagus. Because of what? Because its quick ratio is higher than Pos Laju. Habis satu kat situ. Lepas tu buat pula lagi satu ratio, activity ratio. Macam tu lah. So benda ni you kena tahu sebab I tak nak nanti you calculate and then you get the output, you get the figure but you don't know what the figure for. I tak nak macam tu. You kira bagi nak rak tapi benda tu untuk apa pun tak guna. So the most important thing dalam you punya assignment nanti, I nak tengok how you evaluate, how you interpret your figure. Apa yang you dapat situ, macam mana you penceritaan tu penting. Sebab daripada situ I boleh detect you faham ke tak faham benda ni untuk apa. Okay. Alright, so kita dah habis pasal liquidity ratio. Yang kedua ratio pasal activity ratio. The activity ratio nama lain dia adalah efficiency ratio, turnover ratio. So in here we have 4 ratio. Dalam assignment you, setiap satu ratio kena pilih 2 sahaja. Sama ada you ambil inventory turnover dan average collection period. Yang 2 ni tak payah. Maksudnya setiap ni walaupun dia ada bagi 4 ratio, you cuma ambil 2 sahajalah. Alright. So activity ratio, in the activity ratio kita ada apa? Kita ada inventory turnover, average collection period, fixed asset turnover and total asset turnover. Okay, so for the inventory turnover, what I mean by inventory turnover? Inventory turnover, kita nak tengok ni inventory ni pasal stock kan? Okay, it measure the efficiency of the firm inventory, the higher the ratio, low inventory, blah 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 apa semua. So cost of goods sold dia dekat apa tu? Cost of goods sold ni ada dekat mana? Ada dekat balance sheet ke dekat income statement? Profit and loss tu income statement. Dia ada dekat income statement ke ataupun ada dekat balance sheet? Cuba ingat-ingat balik. Cost of goods sold ada dekat mana?
Balance sheet.
Income statement. Cost of goods sold dia ada dekat income statement. Yes, betul Umairah, dia ada dekat income statement. Okay, inventory dia ada dekat mana? Balance sheet ke ada dekat income statement? Inventories, dia ada dekat mana? Inventory ada dekat mana? Balance sheet ke income statement? Tadi dalam quick ratio pun ada tadi. Balance sheet. So dia ada dekat balance sheet. So dekat balance sheet specifically dia ada dekat mana? Current asset ke ataupun ada dekat fixed asset? current asset. Okay, inventory dia ada dekat current asset. So inventory turnover dia ada dekat current asset which is at your balance sheet side. So the cost of goods sold over inventory, jawapan dia dalam bentuk times lah. Maksudnya kita nak tahu berapa kali. Okay, let's say kalau you dapat 12 times. Okay, so 12 times we are talking about efficiency. So yang ni kita nak tahu inventory yang company tu ada berapa cepat ataupun berapa kali yang dia boleh convert inventory dia tu kepada sales lah dengan katanya sedang. Maksudnya berapa kali dia boleh keluarkan inventory dia. Keluarkan jadi finished product lah. Okay. So for the inventory turnover, okay, the rule of thumb for the inventory turnover, the rule of thumb dia, the higher is the better. Lagi tinggi, lagi bagus. So example, company X and company Y. Company X, dia punya inventory turnover is 12 times. Company Y is 16 times. So kita akan kata company Y ni is better than company X because of dia punya inventory, they can transform inventory into sales faster as compared with company X. Again, you kena ingat ni, dia punya rule of thumb dia lagi tinggi, lagi bagus. Alright, so for the average collection period, okay, for the average collection period, formula dia adalah account receivable over total sales. Okay, total sales sales kadang-kadang bila you tengok dalam account statement dia ada credit sales, cash sales. Okay, credit sales, cash sales ke apa, you tambahkan dua tu terus nanti kalau ada dalam you punya company report tu bila you buat assignment because it state here total sales. So average collection period, formula account receivable over total sales all together times with 360. Kadang-kadang kita ada kira 300, you ada perasan kan, kadang-kadang satu tahun we consider 362, kadang-kadang kita consider 364, kadang-kadang 365. Okay, but here formula dia, I consider satu tahun 360 hari je lah. In general, satu bulan 30 hari. Alright, so 360 average, okay dah. Account receivable. Account receivable ni ada dekat bahagian mana? Balance sheet ke income statement?
Balance sheet.
Balance sheet. Okay, balance sheet specifically dia ada dekat part mana? Dekat bahagian mana? Section
Current
mana?
asset.
Account receivable.
Current
Receivable. Current asset. Okay, current
asset.
Total sales ni ada dekat mana? Sales ada dekat mana?
Income statement.
Yes, income statement. Okay. Okay, let's say lah, if you couldn't find the word sales, you tak nampak pun sales dekat company report, don't be panic. Sebab sales ni nama lain dia adalah revenue. Okay, kadang-kadang student kan, kadang-kadang lah most of the time bila dia dapat nak buat assignment dia tu, medium saya tak dapat pun sales saya, ya Allah hai. Revenue tu adalah sales. Okay, so kalau you tak dapat, you tak ada sales tapi revenue, iyalah tu. So dekat sini, takut you nanti you lupa, ingatkan sales kadang-kadang dalam tu, you punya report dia tulis sebagai revenue. Total maksudnya ada kredit ke apa ke, you tambahkan. Okay, so what you mean by average collection period? Nama dia adalah average collection period. Maknanya kita nak tahu when company sell good, okay, on credit, kita nak tahu how fast yang dia akan dapat balik, collect dia punya duit tu. Okay, so determine the average length taken by the firm to collect is that from creditor. Okay, ini kalau dijual kita kata bahasa senangnya sell good on credit lah. Okay, so kalau kita cakap pasal nak titip hutang, okay, you company, just imagine you are in the corporation, okay, you jual barang and then you nak bagi hutang, satu orang ni dia ada, you prefer bagi hutang orang tu akan bayar dekat you dalam masa 30 hari, 30 days, ataupun orang tu bayar dekat you dalam masa 90 days. Which one you better? 30 hari ke 90 hari?
20 hari.
Berapa?
20 hari, madam.
Saya dengar hari je, saya tak dengar. Apa dia berapa?
30 hari.
Oh yes, 30 hari. Okey, 30 betul. Bila cakap pasal nak kutip hutang, kita nak orang tu bayar cepat. Okay, so for the average collection period, for this example, kita akan kata 30 days is better than 90. So the rule of thumb dekat sini adalah lagi rendah, lagi bagus. Okay, dekat sini. Higher ACP. ACP ni adalah average collection period. It's not desirable as it indicate poor sales and slow collection or a very lenient collection policy. Kata post sale, slow collection. Macam tu lah. Kadang-kadang tu ada tengok sampai 120 hari baru dapat kutip hutang. Kadang-kadang 180 hari kutip hutang. So one of the reason why company not prefer to give credit sales terlalu lama sangat, sebab anything can happen within 160 days ni, equivalent to 6 months kan. So dalam tempoh 6 bulan tu, kalau kita bagi hutang dia panjang sangat, kita takut tiba-tiba company tu gulung tikar ke apa ke, dah putih mata lah kita. Okay. So average collection period, again average collection period, you nak tahu berapa cepat yang kita akan dapat collect balik kita punya credit sales. So the rule of thumb is the lower the better. Okay, now we go to the asset turnover. Asset turnover ada dua. One is the fixed asset turnover, another one is total asset turnover. So these two actually is explain about the same thing. Kalau fixed asset, kita nak tengok how fast the company fixed asset can convert it into sales. Okay, company punya fixed asset dia ada apa? Dia ada land, dia ada building, dia ada copyright. Okay, fixed asset. So kita nak tahu among all of these fixed asset, berapa cepat yang dia boleh bawakan kepada sales. So sales kita dapat dekat mana? Kita akan dekat income statement. Again, nama lain untuk sales nanti dalam you punya tu adalah revenue lah. Net fixed asset ini kita dapat dalam balance sheet. Alright. So the rule of thumb for the fixed asset turnover adalah lagi tinggi lagi bagus. Okay. For example, company A, company X, company Y, dia punya fixed asset turnover, this one is 15 times, Y pula adalah 21 times. So we can say that in terms of turnover, okay, the fixed asset turnover, Y is better than X. Sebab apa? Y ni dia punya asset, fixed asset dia lagi cepat atau lagi banyak. Fixed asset dia boleh bawa kepada sale as compared with X. Tentu. For the total asset turnover, total asset, this is about the total asset. Total asset ada dekat you punya balance sheet. For the total asset, this include current asset and fixed asset lah. Okay, semua ni dalam balance sheet. So for the sales pula, kita ambil dekat income statement. Dia kata indicate how well the firm use its fixed asset to generate. Ni salah ni, bukan fixed asset . Okay, so please delete this. Okay, please make a correction on this note. Indicate how well the firm use its total asset. So this is total asset. Okay, sini fixed asset nama lagi. Fixed asset turnover. Okay, so fixed asset turnover kepada apa? Turnover kepada sales. So sini kena fixed asset lah. Ni pula total asset turnover. Turnover dia, total asset ni adalah turnover kepada apa? Kita nak tengok turnover kepada sales. Okay, so total asset, sini kena total asset lah. Macam tu. Okay. So yang ni nanti dalam you punya assignment, pilih 2 sahaja daripada 4 activity ratio ini. Okay. Okay, so far boleh ikut, boleh faham?
Alhamdulillah boleh, madam.
Okay, you nak break dulu ke? Nak semayang dulu ke? Nak break dulu ke? Nak proceed je?
Boleh dulu, madam. Sembayang dulu, break dulu sekejap.
Break dulu sekejap. Okay, yang lain kita break dulu sekejap . Siapa? Okay, break . Okay, siapa nanti again lah. Kalau you rasa ada difficulties to join this session, online session, you tak join, nanti I akan bagi you record punya lah. Okay, so kita break kejap.